Hello there, welcome to my video this week. I've called it Remember to Remember. If you don't know who I am, my name is Karen from karenandtara.org. Now, you've probably heard that when we come here, we have amnesia, so we forget everything that happened before. We become conditioned then by society, by family, and we develop into who we are largely based upon that conditioning or programming. So it's our background, it's our upbringing, and it's our traumas from childhood. And even the trauma with the small t actually shapes who we become. So what's trauma with a small t? Obviously, trauma with a big T would be those big dramatic events that we definitely would categorize as trauma, abuse or a car accident or, being trapped in a burning house or some big trauma, right? But our small trauma with a small t, it's the things that often go unnoticed by other people, but that majorly affect us. So it could be that you had a mother that was very distracted by other things in life, doesn't pay much attention to you. So then you grow up and you don't feel worthy or you don't feel loved. Or it could be the father who yells at mother all the time. So then you don't feel safe in your family home, even though he never yells at you. Or it could be siblings or kids at school who make fun of your hair. So then you kind of shy away from being seen. Or maybe they called you a geek, in which case then you kind of pull back and you don't achieve at the level to which you could have achieved. So all of these things fundamentally change who we were going to become. We become something else because of that. These things can affect the way that we show up in the world. And fundamentally, as I say, it changes who we are. So then we are not fully real and authentic, but we don't know that because these things that fundamentally change us are usually hidden in the subconscious mind. So there is a part of you deep inside that is not seen for who you really are. You've hidden him or her away because it doesn't feel safe for you to show that part of yourself. And very often you've forgotten that that part of you is even there. So you don't really know who you are, but you also don't really know that you don't know, if that makes any sense. So your work then is to remember who you truly are and bring that part of yourself forward to be expressed and to own. And when you do that, you'll be surprised because you are so much more than you could possibly imagine at this time. But you've forgotten that part. So I'm asking you to remember. You think you're this 3D person, and even if you're a spiritual person and you know that you're more than this 3D person, there's even more to remember. There's so much more to remember. And even people who've done some work on themselves and already think they know who they are, and even the people that are very successful and experienced in personal development and things like that, even they think they know who they are. But I would like to challenge them and say, no, even they don't know who they fully are. And actually, I don't know who I fully am either, because we are all so much more than what we can currently access of ourselves. So for many years, even starting at a young age, I've had this sometimes almost quite desperate feeling that there's something I need to remember. If I could just access it. It's kind of like in the dusty recesses of my mind, perhaps, or hidden somewhere in the fog within myself. But there's something I just can't quite remember. I know that I know it, but I just can't grasp it, if you know what I mean. Maybe you've had a similar experience. It's kind of like when you have a dream. And even when you're in the dream, you know this is an important dream and you've got to remember it. And then you wake up and you can't remember it. It's so frustrating because you know it was a good one and it had a good message and you really need to remember it, but you just can't. I have that all the time, actually. Only it's not about a dream. I have that feeling all the time because it's a truth that I can't grasp and touch. I know it's there. I know it's accessible to me, but I can't quite grab it. I know that there is so much more that we can't remember. It's really frustrating because we know that there's a truth that's being hidden from us. I know we are so much more than this, but I can't quite get the fullness of that knowing. When I work with clients, I can feel it. I can touch it, touch on the edge of it. I feel their greatness. I feel my own greatness. And yet it's also elusive. It's like trying to grasp an illusion, or it's like trying to take hold of a bubble that pops the moment that you touch it. There's another level of remembering that is starting to come through for me much more recently, actually, as I explore other things. I look at these other things, I touch on them, and I go, I know this to be true, but then I can't grasp anymore. It's connected to what is real and what is not here on this plane of existence. I find myself remembering and knowing of what I was coming into when I chose to incarnate here. I remember several other lifetimes very, very clearly, and I also remember coming from another, what we would call planet, and I remember the reason that I said I would come here. And I've been remembering this for some 25 years already. But the memory of that is changing for me now. It's like the veil is really thinning because I can see more of the structures of this reality. Now, you may have heard me allude to this being a simulation in some of my other videos or classes. And at this time that we call the Great Awakening, it is becoming more and more evident to me and to many other people, I think, as well. And I believe that we are in the beginning of remembering. It's as if the amnesia that we all came in with is beginning to wear off, and we are waking up from the dream and the illusion. And it's very exciting. I'm very excited about our future, actually. And this is part of why I'm always saying, I really see something good for us at the end of this. I don't feel the doom and the gloom and the black pill stuff that many people are talking about. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I do see good for our future. So I am really excited about this period of time that we're in right now. And when we can see through the programs that are running here, we no longer need to be affected by them. The same as when we realize that our fear of being seen or being out there in the world, showing up as the real who we are, when we realize that our fear of doing that comes from, some silly kids at school 30 plus years ago, and then we realize, well, we don't need to be affected by that anymore because I'm so much more than that, So when we realize as well that everything is a micro and a macro. So when we begin to break free of our personal limitations and we are open to see things at a global level too. In fact, not just a global level, but even beyond that, because the globe is part of this illusion too. And there's so much more beyond that that we haven't accessed yet. So we are sold a story about who we are, and it keeps us small. And we are sold a story about living on a spinning ball in the middle of nothingness called space, and that keeps us small and limited. And we think that's all there is, so we don't go looking for more. And we don't look inside of us either, and we don't look beyond either. So it's all kind of geared towards keeping us contracted as a smaller version of ourselves. And, I agree that we don't want to spend all our time looking backwards to our past, particularly to the traumas and the limitations. But I do think we should look backwards to the past, way beyond our past. Look back 100+ years to the buildings, to the technology that existed then, to the architecture, to the knowledge that they had then that has been hidden from us. We look at Tartaria, and there's even more than that as well. Giants walked on this planet, not even that long ago either. We can see photographs of some of them, and they were not just an anomaly found here occasionally. There was more. And this has been hidden from us, and it's time to remember that, because what they're trying to do is erase and wipe this memory, just like our memory was wiped when we first came into this incarnation. They wipe that so that we don't remember what went before, what was here before, the gems, the knowledge, the gold that was here before, on the planet and within us. They call it a reset. They've done it before, and we need to remember that so that we can avoid that. If this is a simulation, it would be easy for them to just press reset and everything starts all over again. Everyone has amnesia, and we can all be programmed again the way they want us to be programmed, small and contained, to be happy and to have none of our own possessions. We will own nothing. But what they are not banking on is us remembering other lifetimes, remembering everything that's locked and hidden inside of us, remembering who we are, what we've come here to do, where we come from, the vastness of space, the vastness of what we are as a consciousness, and that there is much more space and land beyond. And we're not here on a spinning ball alone. We are not stuck here, helpless and hopeless, on a spinning ball. Helpless and hopeless, of course, being one of the lowest vibrational states that exists. No, we are so much more than that. And when we take control of our own consciousness and we allow it to expand by opening our mind, when we can see through the illusion and the manipulation that they try to program us with, then we become free, sovereign and liberated. They can't control our consciousness anymore then. And that's when the remembering really begins to pour in. And their structures begin to break down because we're no longer putting our consciousness into building it for them. And that's where we are now, I believe. Many people are awakening now, particularly over these last 3 years. The number of people awake and aware is just amazing. It's so exciting. But there are so many levels of awakening to go through. And humanity at the moment is breaching all of those levels. Some are more ahead than others, of course, but we're not out of danger yet. And I've talked in some of my other videos about this, about the dangers we face if we give our power away to all of this digital stuff and AI temptations. So please check those videos if you haven't already heard them. All in all, I think many of us are in a really good place. The mind expansion, the opening of the heart and the expansion of all that we are on the inside is so exciting to see. I really feel, just really feel excited about this time, because I can see that we're literally on the edge of this opening to a whole new level. I find that very exciting. You wouldn't be listening to this type of video if you were not up for this remembering too. So it's your time now to awaken further than where you currently are. It's your time now to come into a greater level of expansion than where you are now. And I have every faith that we can turn this ship around to face the truth, true north, if you like. But we have to come together and we have to stay connected to that truth always. And where will you find it? The only place is in here. You will find it in here. Now, I know that we all like to research and we like to, look at things on YouTube and, other places where you can find this alternative stuff. My words of advice to you would be, don't get too caught up. You don't want to fall down a rabbit hole and get stuck there. So research a little bit, of course. Read some books. Look back at old technology and things that were here, because it will help you remember that what was here before is what they've tried to erase from our memory. And the knowing of that as truth is within your heart. And that's why it's so important to always go inside. Run everything through the filter of your heart with the intention that you open up and expand. And you open up and expand your mind. Because where we're moving to next in this breakdown of the illusion and this opening up and the remembering of the truth, you really can't access that place if your mind and heart is closed. So go inside with a pure intention and say to your own spirit, your soul, show me the truth. Show me what's more, and let me remember. So I will have more to say on this in other videos, because I want to take us to the next level of expansion of what we need to remember. But for today, I think that's probably enough. So if you have enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends, like it, subscribe, because I have to work with the algorithms of YouTube. Don't you love them? And then, of course, I just want to also mention that very shortly, in just a few days' time, my course, Worthy and Wealthy Woman, is opening up. It's a great course that helps you to really own your worth, love yourself, value yourself, so that you can step out into the woman that you've come here to be. And if you're a man and you want to do that course with me, well, let's talk privately, and I can take you through a similar process, but I'll change the wording to be more appropriate to you if necessary. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed this video. Remember, please, to like, share, subscribe. I'll see you next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.